LowTierGod gives his take on black people and Nick Fuentes. I mean, isn't he a black person? What take could he possibly give?
Gonna watch this, some blacks gonna watch it. Hold on, what the f you mean well behaved? You see what that's the f I'm talking about? Nigga, we was well behaved. We was picking that motherfucker. We was on the fields. We was well behaved. We get
Wait, what is he saying?
We tired. All right, so social media influencer Nick Fuentes demands brutal honesty with regards to much of the commonly accepted AA behavior.
Wait, what does AA mean? Is he gonna explain it?
He describes to his black audience the impression the world has of them and why it's difficult for anybody to disagree with this take. All right, before we
get into this, chat, yo, we're not gonna get political, even though they're gonna discuss politics, okay? So do not give any opinions or else you're timed out.
To start the video, you guys know what type of black I am. I consider myself a new age black. New age black is somebody who doesn't fit the typical stereotypical mold of an average rog. So basically,
wait,
I'm not somebody.
Wait, what is a rog? A rog is a slang term for ratchet or ghetto. What?
Who puts bling over necessities. I'm not somebody who, you know, smokes, drinks, does typical rog shit, so on and so forth. I never was that kid growing up. Even though I was around it, I was always different, you know? Anyways, I don't need to give you my whole life story. I'm just a new age black. Let's see what Nick Fuentes is talking about. Do I and will I agree? Something tells me I will. Let's see what he's talking about.
It's a shame. I really do believe. Look, I think black people are not irredeemable, but there just needs to be brutal.
Jesus, wait, dude. Imagine starting off a sentence like that. Holy shit.
It's like, look, these black people are really struggling, and they're turning into these maniacs. It seems like they don't do anything right. They're obnoxious, they're rude, they're inconsiderate, aggressive, cruel. And
okay, wait, let me just say something. Honestly, growing up in Canada, I've had my fair share of interactions, okay, with like obviously black people and shit like that, you know? And the thing is that I've noticed is that what you see online that kind of like gets pushed, a lot of the time isn't what you're gonna see in reality. You know what I mean? You're gonna see videos of like, I don't know, people that are, for example, like in gangs, right? Or shit like that, rap videos, shit like that, you know, where it's like they're gonna be like glorifying like drug use, all that kind of shit. I would argue that probably like the majority, I would think, of black people don't actually fit that like mold. You know what I mean? But it's just that it's so commercialized that that's kind of like how people, they're gonna have that impression. Does that make sense? And I feel like the same thing happens as well when it comes to like women and like OnlyFans girls, right? Where people are gonna sit there and they're gonna show videos of like OnlyFans girls or OnlyFans women and things like that. And they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like this is all women nowadays. But it's like, it's not. You know what I'm getting at? Like it's literally just not. So that's the thing. I feel like a lot of the time what you're gonna see online is just this like almost caricature of what people want you to think when the reality isn't that. You know what I'm getting at?
And you know,
aggressive and cruel. I would say the majority. I do feel like the easiest people to get into a fight with or a commotion with are blacks. Let's just say this. If I look at a black too long, that could be my last day on earth, or it could be a commotion. If I look at any other...
But again, like, see, this is what I mean, right? Like, imagine you sit there and you take, like, a white dude that grew up in a trailer park in, like, the deep south, okay? You take that guy. Like, that guy's also probably gonna be, like, extremely violent, too. You know what I'm getting at? So it's, like, it's, again, this thing where it isn't the people, right? It's just that if you're gonna look at, let's say, for example, videos that are gonna be taken of people in low-income neighborhoods, right? Or in neighborhoods where there's gonna be, like, high crime rates or things like that, then, yeah, obviously in places like that, there's gonna be like a higher likelihood, but that's kind of like, it works independently of everything, you know what I mean?
It's like, the fuck? All right, honey, I don't know. Walk away. If it's Hispanic, be like, you all right, fool? What you looking at, bro? All right, anyways, dog. Asian, look at you. Indian, look at him. The fuck you looking at? You see some over here? You know somebody over here, bitch ass nigga? You know what I'm saying? Why do you think people use blacks for skits all the time on YouTube? Easiest people to agitate. Blacks. Easiest people to get on prank videos. Nobody else is gonna fall for it.
I mean, okay, if we're being real, 99% of the fucking prank videos that you're gonna see are literally fake. Like, if you look at those, like, old school, like, in the hood pranks and shit like that, right? It's like those were literally faked. Like, these people were literally bought, their services were bought on, like, Craigslist or shit like that. You know, and then they're like, okay, you know what, we're gonna sit there and we're gonna like hire you for the day, and you're gonna come up to us and you're gonna fucking like just have this like crazy reaction. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why the prank YouTubers and shit like that never actually got shot or killed, and it's because it was all faked. Maybe not all of it, right? But like a good majority of it, it was all faked.
Look, nobody hates black people for being black. If there are people like that, I think that's exceedingly rare, and I don't consider myself one of them.
I will say that. I always say it's like this. A lot of people are so quick to use the word racist instead of prejudice. I always say that. There's a big difference.
The reason that people have negative attitudes about black people is because most people's interactions with black people are negative. Most people's interactions with black people is when you're stuck in traffic and you see a Nissan Altima speeding down the shoulder.
And that's true. That's true. How many times I've been driving, right? Now I'm driving in a car that is way faster than a fucking Nissan Altima. And for some reason, it'll be a get driving a Nissan Altima with one of those sun-dried paint, that like the top will be sun-dried paint. You know how only Nissan
I mean, dude, like, Jesus. Like, holy fuck.
do that? They'd have the sun-dried paint. And you trying to beat me in traffic. Like, do you see, like, my car is designed to dust you. And you're, like, they literally be whipping Nissan Altimas. They'll literally whip Nissan Altimas like Corvettes. Literally like they're V8s. Just whip it through traffic.
Hey, what the fuck? You're not supposed to do that. If everybody did that, it would just be another lane, and, you know, not everybody can do that. But it's like these people have no respect for decorum. They think the rules don't apply to them. They have no respect for society.
I mean, like, interestingly enough, I feel like that's not something that's necessarily applied to like a race of people. Because I don't know if obviously I don't know if it's like this in the States, right? But I know at least that in the kind of area that I live in Canada, you're gonna have like groups of people that are from, let's say, different nationalities, right? Greeks, you're gonna have Arabs, you're gonna have like, let's say, Italians descent, right? You're gonna have like black people, right? It's gonna be like mix of people that are all from different like ethnic backgrounds, and the people that you're gonna find that are gonna be doing that shit, like speeding down the fucking like the highways and shit like that, I feel like it's people that are part of that whole like car community. You know what I mean? But I don't think that that's a race thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. When I'm like driving and then I hear that one guy with the muffler, I don't give a fuck what race you are. You know, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And you look in the car and it could be anyone. It could be a dude that's like white. It could be a dude that's like Arabic. It could be a dude that's like black. It could be a dude that's like Greek. You know what I mean? It could be an Asian dude. Like, it could be literally anybody. So I don't know where, like, again, I don't know if it's different in the States, obviously, but I feel like that's more of a car community thing, and it has something to do with race.
Like, that's their interaction is they are a waiter and they wait on a black table and the black people don't tip and they're fucking rude.
But again, I feel like that once again is gonna completely depend on where you are. You know what I mean? Like, if you're waiting at table, okay, and you're in an area where it's like, let's say, like, I don't know, like lower income, then yeah, there's a chance that people just aren't gonna tip, regardless of race, right? You have a white dude, a black dude, right? Asian dude, anyone living there, like, they're probably not going to. But then if you're sitting there and you're waiting at table in fucking like in a downtown like Los Angeles fucking restaurant, I feel like the people that are gonna go there, you know, like, they're more likely to tip. You see what I'm getting at?
You know, it's funny. I really do think that it's just like a black thing, though, right? So check this out. My mom is not ghetto at all, right? Never was that type. We was the only non-ghetto blacks on the block, basically, outside of some Jehovah's Witnesses across the street. But I do catch her getting an attitude with people quickly. Like, if we go somewhere, she'll be like, you don't have another place we could sit? No, I don't want those. Let me get the other one. Nope. I don't want that box. Give me the other one. So I don't. Yeah, it's just people's interactions. I don't know what it's just people's interactions with blacks is what give people the wrong depiction of us. And like I said, one good black is gonna suffer.
But then again, like he talks about his mom, dude. Like the whole like Karen meme, like the whole Karen meme originally like fucking originated because of people where they're gonna look like this. You know what I mean? Like that's where the Karen meme came from. So it's like, yeah, I mean, like sure your mom can act like that, but I feel like that's more of like a middle-aged woman that will fall into a certain like personality type thing. You know what I mean? Because like some of these people, they can have like high-paying jobs or this or that, you know, but like, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna be like bitchy in public. You know what I'm talking about?
With the whole bunch. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. That's like a classic saying or whatever. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Unfortunately, you're going to get secondhand embarrassment. You're going to automatically be deemed at as somebody who might do a smash and grab or somebody who's going to steal in the department store because that's what rogues do. So whatever rogues do, us regular blacks, us new age blacks, us blacks that are civilized or in, some of you guys might be rogues, that just positive rogues that don't steal. You're going to suffer from the rabbit rogues.
That's most people's interaction.
I mean, so he's pretty much saying that if you're gonna sit there and you're gonna be a part of like a group that's gonna share a characteristic with people that are gonna associate a certain characteristic to a certain group, then you can be like negatively affected even if you don't do anything, let's say bad. Which I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I feel like that happens a lot of the times. I feel like it's gonna happen with like with even like men. You know what I mean? Where you're gonna sit there and you're gonna have a girl that'll be like, oh, I don't like any men, I hate all men, I don't want to interact with any men, fuck all men, you know, shit like that. And you can be a guy that's just like saying there and you're a cool guy, you're a chill guy, but because that woman had like bad experiences with a guy, she's gonna sit there and she's gonna like automatically negatively attribute it. You know what I'm getting at?
For the rabbit rogues, you're gonna suffer.
What is the term he's using? So if I'm not mistaken, rog references like Balrog, but I don't know how that correlates.
A rogue means ratchet or ghetto.
It's stuff like that. They go to the DMV and they see a black person behind the counter and they say, oh, here we go. And the person's rude. Now, it just goes to show people are not racist. It goes to show people don't like people that are rude. That people don't, it's unpleasant. People want to be treated with consideration and respect. And it is true that black people are, in this day and age, unfortunately, seem to have very low moral character. It's not even just the violence, although the violence is pretty striking. If you live your life and you know that you're going to be mugged by black people, it kind of colors your opinion or perception of black people, wouldn't you say? If 99% of the carjackings and stabbings and shootings that you see in Chicago are by black people.
Dude, I just want to say, you know what the craziest thing for me is watching this video? When you think back to like, let's say 2 to 3 years ago and how like everyone was online and like the kind of like conforming of like opinions on like what is acceptable, what's not. Like Nick Fuentes is one of the most trending creators now. And even though I don't agree with what he's like saying, obviously, you know, it's like, it's a thing of, it's insane to me that the pendulum kind of swung back the way it did. Like I'm telling you guys, we're only a few months away or even like years from getting to a point where people are calling each other slurs on Xbox Live again. Like that's gonna happen, I'm telling you. It's not far away. But funny story about this guy actually. So one of the reasons why I know this guy is because he's like outspoken against like trans people, and at one point he got caught because on Google, when he was like deleting some of his tabs, people noticed that he had transgender femboy porn on a tab and he was jerking off to it. And then after they caught him for it, he said that it was actually the Jews that put it on his phone. I think if I'm not mistaken, he also like sucked off Destiny or some shit like that.
When you're walking down the street later.
So it's like funny because a lot of the time the people that are gonna sit there and online are gonna have this like insanely like hateful persona or like method of acting or things like that. They're the people who actually like do exactly what they preach against.
And I guess what you're looking for, black people.
Hey, that is true. Because I made sure I moved to a place with less blacks. So I made sure that I moved so far away from blacks that if I see another one, I know that I have nothing to worry about because this is a high regarded area that only somebody that's black that has their shit together can live here in the first place.
But again, like, that's about economics, right? It's about your economic situation. Because, like, a lot of my friends are white, obviously, and a lot of them, I know for a fact that they'll probably never be able to move into, like, higher income areas or things like that, simply because the jobs that they're pursuing and, like, their ways of spending and stuff like that aren't at a level where they're going to be able to get to that point. So it's not about race necessarily as much as it's just about, like, your socioeconomic status.
Literally. Because let's be real, man. I don't want to live next to no rugs. You know what rugs do too? When you live next, they love dumping their mattresses and old TVs and shit like that right in front of the apartment complex. The apartment complex that I was living in to save money before I got here, I was paying, like, cheap rent.
Because, like, okay, guys, can I tell you guys, honestly, the reason why, for me, I don't like racism? You know what I mean? I'll tell you guys what really my thing is. So, for me, when it comes to, like, things like, let's say, stereotypes, right? Or, like, stereotypical jokes or things like that, or even to a certain extent, like, racist jokes in private, whatever it might be, for me, I'll find those, like, funny, right? Or I'll, like, laugh at them, shit like that, always. For, like, everyone, I'll make some about, like, Italians, Greeks, like, everyone, dude, like. And the thing is, for me, even though I'll be able to, like, make jokes like that or things like that, I don't like the idea of hating someone just because of their race. And the reason why I don't like it is actually because of my stream. Let me tell you guys a story. When I was 16, I used to go down this whole, like, pipeline where I was watching all those, like, Ben Shapiro destroys feminists, or like the Steven Crowder Changed My Mind series or things like that, and I would sit there and I would always consume all that content, and I was becoming red pilled. And then the interesting thing that I learned was that when I started streaming, it got to a point where I realized that at the end of the day, the only thing that I knew about the people watching my streams is that they watch my streams and they have a username. You know what I'm talking about? They don't have a face, they don't have a skin color, they don't have a country of origin, they don't have a champion they main in League of Legends a lot of the time, Like, the only thing you have is your username and your way of acting. You know what I'm talking about? And then it got to a point where, over time, I just came to realize, I was like, damn, it doesn't matter if someone's, like, Asian, if they're African, if they're European, if they're American, if they're, like, wherever they're from. Those are all people that can find me funny and that can enjoy my streams and that can share in the good moments together, that can, like, let's say, believe in my journeys, my grinds, like, my things like that, and they can all partake in that. And that was the point for me where it kind of clicked in my mind, where I was like, how can you be kind of, like, hateful towards, like, a group of people when some of those people are people that could potentially really like you or enjoy your content or, like, have their days brightened by you or things like that, So that's kind of, like, how for me I kind of exited that mentality, because I just got to a point where I realized that's, like, at the end of the day, the only thing that makes people, I guess, like, unified is that they have experiences and they share experiences with others, Balkan racism is low-key hilarious sometimes, so you can't lie. I think that Balkan racism is the only, like, funny and acceptable one, honestly. And the reason why I say that, racism where you're gonna have, let's say, a guy from, like, Serbia and a guy from Albania that are just gonna go at it and go crazy, okay? Not in a way of, like, people looking at the whole Balkans and being like, oh yeah, we hate all the Balkans, okay? Like, not that kind of racism. But I mean, like, the kind of racism where you're gonna, like, sit there and people are gonna go and they're gonna go at each other, And the reason why is because, like, have you guys ever seen that one clip of, like, Ray, like, the Kai Cenat's friend, and, like, the other guy, Rakai, and they were just sitting there spitting, like, racist shit at each other, but then it's like they came together and they were chill at the end? You know what I'm talking about? I feel like a lot of the times with the Balkans especially, it'll be like that. Like, you're gonna have a guy that's gonna sit there and he'll be, let's say, an Albanian, okay, for example, and he'll hate people from Estonia, and every time he'll, like, see them, he'll, like, shit talk them and they'll shit talk him back, but it's like, at that, it just kind of ends. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like from what I've seen, it doesn't go further than that. It doesn't feel like they're actually attacking the individuals that are Balkan, but rather kind of like their country as a whole, which I think is, like, probably, like, the most acceptable-ish, like, form of doing it.
They're being smart. Bro, all the blacks would dump their old furniture in front of the apartment complex all the time. Mattresses, couches, old strollers, everything. Just fucking up the environment. Also, every single confrontation, physical.
I mean, okay, if we're being honest, so like, listen, I grew up in a suburban neighborhood, okay? Suburban neighborhood in fucking in Canada, and I mean, listen, even people in like my higher income neighborhood, even they would sit there and they would like always put their furniture outside. Like they would just put it outside, you know, and say people want to take it, they can, or the garbage trucks would come get it. But no, that was something that I feel like everywhere it has that. Dantes, Estonia's Baltic, not Balkan, same thing.
Confrontation I've had in my life has been with blacks. Unfortunately, that's just been my life. Ever since all the way from second grade and up, bullied by blacks, chased home by blacks, been made fun of by blacks because I didn't have the fucking best J's, the latest J's, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but then again, like the question then is like, where did you grow up? Because I mean, personally, I find it hard to believe that if he was in a school that was, let's say, 50% white, 50% black, that every negative experience he's ever had has only been with black people, right? But obviously, if you're in a school that's like 95%, then like for me, for example, looking back on my life, especially like my school experience, my school was, I think, like what, 95% white, and I never had any issues with anyone that was black ever. I think the only two people that I ever really had issues with was this one white guy that would bully me. Then there was this other, like these two white girl twins that would also bully me. And then I stomped on their back and sent them to the hospital, and then they never did it again. And then there was this one Indian dude in like 5th or 6th grade that would always have these like spurg rage moments, and he like hated me. That was like crazy. But those are like the only people I've ever really had like issues with looking back at my schooling, you know.
Clown for having one pair of shoes for the whole school year. Being roasted by blacks for liking wrestling, roasted by blacks for liking Street Fighter and video games, roasted by blacks for not having the latest fits, roasted by blacks for not having a crispy fade and lineup, roasted by blacks because I always spoke with some sort of poison, you know, eloquence.
But then again, I feel like it also depends on your circles too, right? Like, for example, in high school especially, I feel like everybody knows this, but you guys know there are different friend groups. You're gonna have like the popular kids, you're gonna have the football players, you're gonna have kind of like the nerds, you're gonna have the guys that play video games, the anime watchers, right? All that kind of stuff. So I feel like, yeah, if you're sitting there and if you're a guy that's like, let's say part of the popular kids, and then you're gonna go and you're gonna fucking start playing video games or Street Fighter, then yeah, your friends are probably gonna like look at you and be like, bro, why aren't you having like an orgy with us? You know what I mean? So I think that also depends on like the kind of like friend groups they're gonna have or they're gonna be surrounded by.
For those that don't know what that means, roasted by blacks for speaking proper. To the point where so much so, I had to dumb down my dialect just to fit in with niggas.
And you equate that with danger. And it doesn't take a lot of them to spoil the whole bunch like that. And we just want black people to take accountability and say, look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. It just seems that every time I encounter you people, for the most part, it's negative. And sometimes extremely negative, like I could get a gun in my face. You know? That's a problem. And people go, well, you are just loaded up with hatred and racism. It's like, I'm really not. I'm a really friendly person. I'm a really polite, friendly person. I give everybody a chance. But if I'm someplace and I see some black person walking in with their pants sagging.
It's a funny story about this guy, actually. Again, like, I go on Twitter a lot, right? So I'll hear, like, I'll like, see stories. There was this experience that he had with a white woman recently, actually, where a white woman knocked on his door and tried, like, recording him. And he fucking like kicked her down the stairs and stole her phone and ended up getting criminally charged. And then I think like a day or two later, a masked gunman that was also, I'm pretty sure, like either white or like Latino or something, showed up to his house and rang his doorbell with the intention of literally killing him. And then the police later like apprehended the guy. So, you know what I mean? It's like...
And they can't articulate what their problem is or what they need, and they're rude and they're aggressive, and I'm in fear for my life. Like, yeah, I have a problem with all of that.
Yeah, just like I'm saying, what he's saying is, it's the negative stereotypes. And the negative stereotypes, unfortunately, is going to follow you whether you're that type of black or not.
Your take is perfect. I just can't listen to the Zach, since he isn't black and doesn't know what black people experience.
I get it.
And people go, and these black people go, well, you're racist, you're racist. It's like, no, I just hate inconsiderate behavior. If black people were super well behaved, we would be racist in the other direction. We'd say black people, oh yes, dude, yes.
And I know some people are gonna watch this, some blacks will watch it. Oh, what the you mean well behaved? You see what that's the fuck I'm talking about? Nigga, we was well behaved. We was picking that motherfucker. We was on the fields. We was well behaved. We getting wet. We ain't behaving shit. We tired.
Dantes, what do you think about sagging? Well, when people like sag their pants? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that the story of how sagging originated was because if you were in prison and you wanted to get fucked in the ass, you would put your pants lower than your ass to signify, hey, I want to take it in the ass. Am I wrong? That's where I heard it originated from. But yeah, I don't understand what the whole thing about that is.
Definitely will find a way to bicker about it. We tired, but as soon as there's a riot, we'll steal the J's, we'll bust up stores, we'll jack iPhones that are going to be disconnected as soon.
Dantes, his pepper spraying incident was after he was doxxed and he had hundreds of people show up to his house and harass him. Why are you trying to make it out like he overreacted for no reason? No, because what I'm trying to say is that when you listen to how he speaks, right, and how he talks, he's going to conveniently sit there and he's going to talk about how, for example, like everyone he's ever interacted with that was black was like an issue. But then it's like when you're going to leave out everything else, or when you're gonna like exaggerate or over amplify certain like things to kind of like make your point seem better, then it's like that's the weird thing.
As soon as you steal them out the store, we're gonna jack chargers.
Wait, let me actually see if it's fake. Yeah, no, I was right. Sagging originated in U.S. prisons. Belts were prohibited due to safety concerns and inmates were... Oh, was it? Oh, okay. So I guess it was just like regular, like, okay. I thought it was because people got fucked in the ass. I guess I was wrong.
Typical shit.
My day is about to turn around for the better. What can I help you with, sir? Please, come right on in. Man, what a relief to see you here. You're a sight for sore eyes. If black people were known for being the best, then we would be racist in the other direction. Oh, finally. So yeah, that really bothers me. It just bothers me in this damn ass city, because that's all it is in Chicago, is just these black people who can never take accountability.
Well,
But I mean, if you say that, and he lives in Chicago, which is one of the cities that has the most amount of like gang violence out of all of them, and also like one of the, if I'm not mistaken, like worst economies as well, right? With like the average person being like obviously at like an economic disadvantage, then yeah, your perception is gonna be skewed. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't know, dude. ICA. It's like ICA, dude. We'll just watch something else.